With the Game Awards only being a little less than a month away, it's extremely safe to say that it'll also contain our first look at the next Sonic game, the long-awaited Sonic Frontiers 2. And I've gotta say, I am really excited. Prior Sonic games have had disastrous hype cycles due to poor early showcases of the game, or it just not looking up to snuff. And I'm gonna be real, with the recent performance of Sonic games and hearing how much Sonic Team really is dumping into this next game, call me crazy, but I'm not actually that worried. Sure, I'm a little cautiously optimistic, but for once I'm truly not all that worried. Now, this Game Awards reveal could be a complete shit show, sure, but only time will tell. Anyways, what I'm here today to talk about is what I want to see out of the reveal, the game itself, and a few other things. I hate long intros, so let's just start off with the first thing, the reveal. What do I want to see out of the reveal, and what do I think is realistic to see? Well, I'll tell you what I don't want to see, this. This was a trailer that was, while beautifully animated, a terrible first reveal. It told us nothing about the game, gave us constant red herrings. Like seriously, this is not what the side loop does. Why is it like this? It was revealed way too early, and because of that, gave us a trailer that reflected that. No gameplay, no in-engine footage, just a misleading tease. I'm expecting an actual reveal this time. I'm expecting something more in line with the Sonic Frontiers Game Awards trailer. Sure, this also didn't show us any real gameplay, but I feel like it showed us enough. And if this was a first reveal, I feel like it would have completely sufficed. We got some more animation alongside in-engine footage of the islands. While not a ton, I feel like this would give us plenty to chew on, and I feel like it also wouldn't be a problem if they kept a steady stream of reveals afterwards. I feel like this is also pretty realistic. Assuming Sega has learned from their mistakes of Frontiers' reveal cycle, I feel a first reveal such as this would make plenty of sense. Also, I'm completely banking on a new model. There's no way we don't get a new one shown here. I'm going into this with the full expectation that we are going to finally see a new Sonic model, and I'm fucking scared. I'm hopeful, sure, but if it's bad or even just mediocre, I'm terrified to see what Twitter will look like. Anyways, what do I want to see with the game itself? Frontiers was a good starting point, but in all honesty, I barely want the next game to resemble it. There are a lot of changes I want to see, so I might as well start with the things that I think are fine. I think the overall gameplay loop and island system is alright. Explore the island, get collectibles, get a thing with the collectibles, rinse and repeat. It's a streamlined gameplay loop that works pretty well, and that's a big positive that I have to give to Frontiers. However, everything else... where to start? I think Frontiers 2 needs to make a strong effort to try to translate the classic philosophies into 3D. An open-world game resembling those 2D titles would be a match made in heaven, and I'll give you a couple reasons as to why. Firstly, the classics often have Sonic fully interacting with his environment. This leads to intricate level design that manages to incorporate the environment into its design. When you do this, you not only get unique level design, you also get memorable locales. These random rails and springs are extremely uninteresting on their own, but when paired naturally with their environment, you can make an otherwise unordinary section into one remembered off visuals alone. Think of all the animations, official and unofficial, of Sonic running through his environment. It's incredible, right? I mean, everyone, and absolutely everyone, loves CD's intro for this reason. We see him traverse these long stretches of land by just using his abilities. He and the environment are one, and that's something beautiful about his character that those classic games reflected quite well. While springs and dash pads did exist at the time, they were used far less than the modern games. Current Sonic rarely interacts with his environments, rather objects placed within them. Think about any of your favorite sections of Frontiers Open Zones. If you have any, I guarantee you that every single one of them contains one of these typical automated objects, such as springs and rails. While having these objects can be fine, it gets to a point where there becomes an over-reliance on them. I want less interactions with these objects, I want interactions with your environment. Because when you create certain areas or platforming sections around your environment, often than not, you end up with something really special, player expression. Player expression is what Sonic was built on. Wrapping back to that CD intro, we may never have been able to actually play a Sonic game like this, but I find it's representative of this idea of player expression. Turning ordinary loops or walls, inclines, the works, into your own route, the world is Sonic's oyster, and once you realize this, you can really get creative in a lot of these classic games. The most creative being none other than the game this intro belongs to. That's right, I'm talking about Sonic CD again. This is the most freedom you've ever been given in a Sonic game. This is the game where player expression is arguably at its peak. Take everything I've said before about player expression, this is that. Now, while you may not be able to perform anything as flashy or speedy seen in the intro in the actual game, you can get closer than you might think. This all relates to my Frontiers 2 talk, by the way, we're still talking about that. CD is all about using the environment to your advantage. Because of this, the level design is a little unorthodox. It's less focused on set routes and more on improvisation, and all of it relates back to your environment. How you interact with your environment determines your playstyle, your speed, how exploratory you want to get. I want this in Frontiers 2. We've finally been given these large open areas built for exploration, but we can't really interact with any of them in meaningful ways because barely any of your interactions comes from the environment. The most you're given to experiment with is spin dashing off of certain ledges to get crazy height and airtime, and while that is fun, it's a single interaction with a predictable outcome each and every time. Frontiers 2 has a chance to give us these dynamic environmental interactions in a meaningful way. It can reward the player by having them be creative. You can have a reward, memory token, whatever, on a more linear route, but maybe by taking advantage of the environment in that seemingly linear route, you can end up on a higher plane with a second reward placed there for people that cared enough to engage with the game in a meaningful way. I don't want there to be simply a spring that I need to react to get to a top path. I want to have to strategize, think to myself, given Sonic's abilities, is there any way I could get up there? That is what I want to see from the level design of the open world. Now, to do all this, to achieve the untapped level of player expression, we're going to need something, and that should have been obvious by my prior ramblings, momentum. Asking for momentum in Sonic games has almost become a joke because a lot of people asking for them don't actually understand why they want it. Because of this, they come off as annoying, pretentious, and another third thing. And I get it. These people are annoying, I'm not going to beat around the bush. However, while they are obnoxious and don't actually know why they want momentum, I think momentum is something we do need in these games. Now, momentum is often used as a buzzword, so let me clarify some things. Most Sonic games, even boost games like Generation and Frontiers, have momentum to some degree. The problem is, the game is not really built around it, and therefore momentum serves next to no purpose in these games. In Frontiers, you can roll down a hill, but what's the point? You barely gain any speed and the boost exists, rendering it useless. 99% of these linear sections don't benefit from rolling, and even if the physics were buffed in a way that you gained considerably more speed rolling downhill, the game still isn't built around that. The problem wouldn't be fixed. We need the game to be built around the usage of momentum for it to truly shine. With proper momentum, player expression can truly shine, and I've already said why that's a great thing. Well, that was a lot, but there's still more. We gotta get new themes, bro. Grass, I get it, I understand you. You can call me a hypocrite for not wanting grassy areas considering the game I work on, Sonic Daybreak, has its first level as a beachy, grassy hybrid thing, but that's a beach so it doesn't count, trust me, bro. In reality, I'm okay with the existence of a grassy theme, but my main thing is please make it unique. Believe it or not, you can do cool shit with grass areas in games. It's just that in the past decade and a half, Sonic's grassy areas have been relegated to Green Hill over and over, Green Hill reskins, and when we finally do get something different, like with Kronos, this is still boring. If you do a grass theme, fine, just make it unique. Aside from the grassy areas though, we still need more shit. Frontiers was a step in the right direction, for sure. Desert locales are some of my favorite in gaming, and the idea of a volcanic area with an almost nuclear winter sort of vibe sounds really incredible. However, Ares Island is just a desert, and Chaos Island, you can't get away with calling it just something because it is straight up an incredibly unique locale. However, to put it bluntly, it looks like shit. You know what I want? A city. This should be no surprise if you've seen my prior video on Sonic Cities, but these never fail to be unique and memorable. Everyone loves them, so why not add one? Now, I'm not saying an entire island should be one city, that is fucking ridiculous, that takes so much time. However, just give us a city. A fully explorable city. Could you imagine a city locale in Sonic not bound to linearity and focused on player expression? Imagine being able to go inside each and every one of these buildings, scaling them up, platforming from rooftop to rooftop. I mean this sincerely. When Sonic Team is able to do this, I will be able to say that I have not only full confidence in them, but expect nothing less than 9 to 10 out of 10s going into the future. Unless, of course, they fuck it up and it's poorly designed, in which you will never see me again. Let's talk story and characters. Now, I'm not here to give a deep dive on Sonic characterization, and I'm not really here to break new ground, but I do have a few problems. First off, don't make their voices deep, that's so stupid. The only reason their voices are like this is because it makes the cutscenes in the story appear more emotional and melancholic than they actually are. Sonic can be soft-spoken or quieter at times, but you don't have to make his voice deeper to achieve this. Some of Sonic's best moments as a character have him talk in his usual voice. He doesn't have to put on a deeper voice to make himself sound more genuine. By nature, Sonic is incredibly genuine. He will say the most inspiring shit you've ever heard with that trademark silly voice of his because he does this shit by nature. He isn't even aware of what he's saying is even inspiring because that's just who he is. Everything he says comes straight from the heart. So let's just ditch the deep voices. Sonic's characterization in this game is something I have way too much to talk about, so I'm just gonna say most of the issues I have with him are ones you hear about his characterization in IDW. I'll just leave it at that. Amy is a fucking former shell of herself. What are we doing? This is straight up not the same character anymore. I've heard heard some people say the reasoning for this change is character development, which just isn't true. I'd like you to point out where this so-called character development happened. Also, character development should not change who they are as a person entirely. Amy went from this cute, energetic, bubbly character to this soft-spoken, quiet, and melancholic one. Dude, that's not character development, that's a lobotomy. Knuckles is actually kinda perfect, I can't lie, no need to talk about him, and Tails is suffering from damage control syndrome, so I can excuse him to a certain degree. However, I really don't like what Tails has become. He used to be this talented kid who was really smart. He was a little clumsy, but ultimately courageous and determined to be a better person. Now, his whole thing is that he's smart. And while you can't say he's determined to be a better person because of his so-called arc in Frontiers, for one thing, it was handled poorly, and also it was because they had to give an explanation for Tails being so out of character in past games. Funnily enough, I actually think they handle his characterization really well in the fucking car commercial that was put out recently. It's not like a ton, but oh my god, that's him. In this commercial, we see him have fun, be curious, and be smart. Now, I could go into deeper detail about this, but in reality, this is a segue to talk about that smart thing of his. From his conception, Tails wasn't defined by his smarts. Now he is. Not only this, he used to be humble. He never really bragged about how smart he was. Now he does. This gives us lines where Tails acts like a smartass in front of Sonic and says stupid shit like, I made a TV using paper clips, or whatever. This has just been his character in recent years, and this millennial style of writing has only hindered the friendships of these characters. Sonic and Tails used to have this incredibly genuine relationship with one another, where they saw one another as equals and held an insane amount of respect for each other. The writers now seem to be incapable of giving them a genuine interaction. It's always this fake, snarky banter where one of them can either not give a genuine compliment or not accept a genuine compliment. Sonic will say some shit like, not half bad, Tails, and Tails will respond with some dumb shit like, yeah, that was nothing. It's so fucking insincere. Sometimes less is more. We can have interactions where Sonic says, that was cool, Tails, and he responds, thanks. We can stop trying to cram this weird, insincere millennial style of quote-unquote humor into every line. Sincerity is fine, guys. All in all, what I'm saying is, give us good dialogue and don't be afraid to be genuine. Wow, I had a lot more to talk about than I thought initially. As you can tell, I'm obsessed to an unhealthy nature about this stupid franchise and probably more passionate than I should be, but at the end of the day, I just really want the next game to be exceptional. We've been stuck with mediocrity for so long and it feels like we're finally reaching a point of full-on improvement. Frontiers and Shadow Gens are proof of this, and while I still don't really like Frontiers, I'll always acknowledge the fact that it's an amazing stepping stone and a good sign of things to come. I'm extremely excited for the Next Game Awards, and the fact that we're only less than a month away is thrilling. I will be there when Frontiers 2 is revealed, and I will be talking about it, so stay tuned for that. If you enjoyed, you know what to do. I don't have to give you the spiel. I'll see you all next time. Peace.